Hey everybody, I've got with me today Chief Howard Rinewalt. He's the Fire Chief of East Montgomery County Fire Department, also known as the New Caney Fire Department, Emergency Services District 7. Good afternoon, Chief. How you doing?
Wonderful. How are you?
Pretty good. Just trying to make another day of it. And welcome to the podcast. Good to have you on.
Absolutely.
I know it was kind of hard to get you out here because you're a busy guy.
Well, I'm glad to be here, and thank you for having me.
That's good. So, kind of wanted to talk a little bit about just the fire service itself and see if we can kind of cover, I know that you guys put fires out and stuff like that, but really what you guys do and the area of service that you cover and what kind of equipment you have. So can you kind of fill us in? Let's start with just area of service because I know it's quite large.
Yeah, we cover 144 square miles with 5 fire stations. They're all 5 staffed 24/7. We do put out fires, but we also do fire prevention, fire education. We do medical responses, hazmat responses, rescue responses. And then with every fire department, whatever they don't know who to send to, they just send the fire department. So it could be a tree across the street. They don't know who to take care of it, so they'll send us.
And you guys are ready. So
yeah,
y'all got
always.
all that stuff on the truck.
Yes,
you need to cut a tree up, you can go do it.
Yeah, we got saws, we've got rescue equipment, we've got anything you need, we've got it on the truck.
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. You ever get any cats in the tree call?
We do, but we don't really do that. So our workers' comp insurance doesn't really like to take care of cat injuries.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I bet not. And when you think about it, you've never really seen any cat skeletons up in trees either. So
the guys would start telling people that over the phone. We had to tell them to quit doing it. So
yeah,
you can't tell people on the phone that we don't see cat skeletons in the trees. So.
That's cool. All right, so you said you had 5 fire stations, correct?
That's correct.
Where are they located?
We've got one on 1485 Vic. So 19870 FM 1485. It's going to be 1485 West if you're coming from 59.
Okay.
We've got one in Splendor on Old Highway 59. We've got another one in Splendor on Morgan Cemetery. We opened that one in 2016. It's been open since 2016. We've got another one near 242 on 1485 is 154. That's the newest one that we've opened. And we also have 152 there in Roman Forest. So
wow, yeah, that's a lot of coverage. It seems like.
Yeah, it's a big area. We need some more stations, so we're working on our 5-year plan currently. So we've got one more station in the 5-year plan for the next 5 years. So
that's great.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I know you've seen a population explosion out here. So has that made a big difference in the amount of calls and
calls
service
have increased,
requirements?
Yep. The big deal, though, is like the growth is just so exponential and it's happened rapidly that we're keeping up with the growth is building stations and is not so much a challenge as adding staffing. So getting the good employees to come that you do want people with experience. So that's a positive when we can get that. But it's hard, doing ranks because you have captains, driver, firefighter rank, and you're trying to get captains and drivers in positions with experience to provide the best service to the citizens. And the growth's just happening so fast, sometimes it's hard to keep up with. Right. So,
and I know y'all have an EOC, correct, an Emergency Operations Center, too?
We put that in place during Harvey. So there's a big deal. We have the OEM in Conroe, which they do a wonderful job, but they just get overran. You got the entire Montgomery County that's going through the OEM. So kind of takes some of the stuff off their shoulders. We put a OEC in place. So it's a command center for the east side of the county, and the constables work out of it. The Precinct 4 Commissioner's Office works out of it. Both fire departments, Montgomery County Hospital District, and we're all in the same room at the same time when there's a big disaster. So kind of takes it off the shoulders of the OEM and Conroe, and we can get everything in line. And when we finally need to make a call and order something, we can order it, and it's when we need it. So everything's prepared and in place.
Yeah. So during Harvey, how many calls did you guys get out of there?
Oh, Lord, man, we probably did 1,800 rescues.
Really?
Yeah, it was a lot.
Wow.
Baptist encampment took a beating, and it was cut off on both sides, so you couldn't get into it at a certain point. We had some real good guys come out of Louisiana that hooked up with us. It was not the Cajun Navy. It was just some guys from a fire department in Louisiana.
Okay.
They brought airboats. They brought boats, and they just volunteered their time and their equipment. They broke stuff and never asked for anything back. So I really like to thank those guys out of St. Martinsville Parish. But we put them over on the Baptist encampment side, so that kind of relieved us to go to, Wood Branch was real bad flooded.
Right.
There was areas that's never flooded. Cumberland off 1314, we had units in there that just never flooded before. I wish I could tell you what's causing it, but I mean, there was a lot of rain at one time.
Probably a lot of rain and just growth.
Yeah,
there's a lot of displacement now with concrete and things like that.
Absolutely. So. I mean, you look at the 59, 1485 areas, just all the concrete there, and that area's never flooded. And during Imelda, it was overran by water. So.
Well, do you know if any of the city planners or area planners are doing anything as far as flood prevention or anything like that?
Commissioner Metz is doing a whole lot right now.
Really?
Oh,
that's
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, he's done as far as like just the retention, the runoff, the ditch cleaning. He's got a big thing he's working on for a grant right now to desnag all the creeks and waterways up to the East Fork, which would help substantially. So Commissioner Metz is doing a whole lot for the drainage, and then also he's doing a mobility plan that should help with some of the traffic and relief of the traffic. He's attempting to get a grant to do a bridge into Roman Forest because that bridge floods over. So doing a different bridge to where Roman Forest won't be cut off because you don't really flood in Roman Forest. You just get shut in and can't get out.
Mm-hmm.
So, Commissioner Metz, as far as I know, is doing the most, but he's doing a lot.
That's great.
So.
And I guess it would take a long time for all these to come out.
It
get
would.
done.
Yeah.
It
would. He's working. He's still trying to catch up on some road bonds that went through that, Ford Road, the community drive area. So it does, like the money gets there, but it takes a little bit for, we got to do bid processes and all that stuff to get contracts in place. So, just a shout out to Commissioner Metz. He is definitely doing a lot for the drainage.
Great. Fantastic. So do you know if there are any plans to cut like bios through here?
I don't know of anything.
Because I know that worked really well in Houston. Houston was basically submerged until they started cutting all the bios through.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in place. I think for that, I just think the drainage needs to be corrected. There's a bunch of sediment that came in and settled in the river, and the creeks have overgrown with just log jams and new growth trees inside of the creeks.
Right.
That stuff really needs to be cleaned out. I think is a major step in the right direction, what he's trying to do. We don't really need new bayous. We just need to correct the water runoff and watershed that we have right now.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Well, I know you guys just bought a new ladder truck. Yep. Big thing. I've seen it. Things, like 140 feet or something like that?
It's 107 foot long.
107?
Single axle. It's a Pierce apparatus. We got it through some assistance with the Improvement District. So we did have a grant that expired 2 years ago with the Improvement District. It was $250,000 a year, and it ended up running out. We tried to renegotiate it. We wanted that money, but they asked what equipment we wanted instead. So instead of getting the money, the $250,000 a year, we ended up getting the ladder truck, which was a blessing.
That's great.
We definitely needed it. The industrial park's grown substantially. You've got the 242 development occurring. So, it was a great purchase, and it was really needed at the time. So we probably would have ended up using the money for that anyways. So it worked out. But we do have the ladder truck. It's been in service now since August.
Okay.
Man, it's ran. I can't tell you exactly how many, but I'd say probably it runs about 3 fires a month. The ladder truck goes on. So
wow. And so what's the maximum reach on that thing?
107 foot vertical.
107 foot. So that's about 10 stories?
Yep.
I guess.
It's a 10-story building it'll cover.
Wow.
A big benefit too, is like we can go negative with it. So you can set the ladder truck up, and you have like a strip center on fire. You can set the ladder truck up negative, which is a huge return to be able to put like 1,000 gallons a minute through the front of one of these strip centers, what we couldn't do before. Huge return on the rescue side of things, like the hotels that are coming in.
Sure.
You get multiple rescues out of a hotel where they can't get out of their hotel room, and we don't have ground ladders long enough to reach. That was the biggest return for maximum return on that. And then again, the industrial park, it's grown so much down Gene Campbell that we have the ability now to flow a substantial amount of water from above or below to get it in to put the fires out. So, and it's not as dangerous on our people.
Yeah, so that's a great deal for MCAT then to be able to help you guys with something like that.
Very good. Yeah, it's got the MCAT logo on the side of it. If you wonder why that's on there, that's why. They paid for a large majority of the truck.
Excuse me. I know that a lot of the citizens don't realize that they can go and visit the fire department. And so do y'all have any special days or anything where you allow citizens to come up and just kind of tour what you got going on? Do y'all set things like that up, or
We don't, because they can come by any time. I mean,
Really?
they paid for the building, so it's not ours. We're just staying there until they call for us.
Yeah, it's
so
all taxpayer funds.
24/7. You want to knock on the door at 2 a.m, they're there. So
Yeah.
I mean, you paid for the building. You can come see it anytime you
And
want.
so you'll show them all the apparatus and everything else?
They can come sit in my desk if they want to. I mean, that building belongs to them.
That's pretty cool.
So yeah, they can see anything they want.
Okay. All right. So is there any additional equipment that you can see that you're going to need in the future to be able to satisfy your needs as far as the amount of growth that we're still experiencing out here? I mean, I know you're going to need another fire department, but as far as equipment goes, I mean, you seem to be pretty equipped, but is there
Right.
anything that, like another ladder truck or additional pumper trucks or something you don't have?
We've got 2 engines on order right now, so we'll have 2 new engines in August. They're being built currently. So
Wow.
we do have needs, but they're being addressed. As the growth continues, I could see in the future we would need another station. That's in the 5-year plan. I'm looking at putting that in the new development neighborhood they're building currently, in between 242 and 2090, like back behind the theme park area. They're cutting through with a new neighborhood. So I'd like to put a new station right in that neighborhood, actually. So that'll get me 2090, 242 coverage and that neighborhood that's going in. So
Wow.
that's something future development we would need. And I really need, I just need the funding, but I need a second battalion chief on duty. We need a chief on duty in the Splendor area. Right now we have one chief 24/7 who's on a shift, who's covering the whole 144 square miles. So we really need to divide that out. Yeah. Really need to divide that out, because those guys, I mean, they are the safety level, layer for the crews going inside. So it's real good because they get on location, they establish command. They can put a second chief on the backside of a building to get eyes on the backside, because you can't see the whole thing at one time.
Right.
So just as a safety level and a command structure level, a second battalion chief's a large need in the future. So
Okay.
that equipment we're getting, I mean, it's budgeted in, and we're getting it as it comes. It's in the 5-year plan. The 2 new engines should be here in August, which would put us putting the current 2 engines we have in reserve.
Right.
Which that means if something goes down, gets in a wreck, whatever happens, we have a backup engine to replace it. So no, I mean, I think we do have definite needs. The station, the 2 engines, the battalion chief, but all this is in the 5-year plan. So
that's awesome.
It's coming, and we'll be ready for it.
So at least you're planned out for it.
Yep.
So let's talk about Splendor for a second. I don't know if everyone knows, because I think that some people are still under the assumption that Splendor has its own fire department. But a few years ago, and I'm not really sure what year it was, there was a consolidation between ESD11 and ESD7, which was the Splendor Fire Department in New Caney. How did that come about? And of course it's helped, but man, I'm really having some problems here. But how did that come about, and what changes do you think it's made as far as helping to cover the Splendor area, especially since it's grown so much?
Right. Yeah. So basically, Splendor doesn't receive any sales tax revenue at the fire department. So.
Right.
The issue was Splendor was about the only fire department left in the entire county that did not have full-time staffing. They were still running volunteer crews. So ESD7 got with ESD11. They came up with an agreement to go put it on the ballot to become one ESD. And what it done is the citizens voted for it, and there was actually a sales tax attached to the ballot that ended up not passing because it was worded improperly on the ballot. So we still receive no sales tax revenue for the Splendor area. The only sales tax revenue we're getting is in the ESD7 area. So the plan with the placement on the ballot and the merger was to create one ESD and to add a sales tax to be able to fund the staffing.
Okay.
It passed the vote, but the wording on the ballot was done incorrectly because it didn't exclude a portion of the district that belongs to MCED. So we did not get the sales tax because we didn't exclude the MCED district out of the vote.
And this doesn't increase taxes, but it's just a portion of the sales tax for goods and services that you buy in the area.
Right.
Correct?
It would be 0.5% of the sales tax would come to the ESD if it would have went through.
Wow.
Again, the citizens voted and passed it, but we didn't cut out and carve out that MCED district. So we lost the money because we failed to do that on the ballot. And it wasn't our fault. It was our attorney at the time
Gotcha.
We're not using him anymore, but he was representing the district at the time, and he worded it on the ballot as such, and we lost the vote because of that. But we made a promise to the citizens that we were going to staff those stations with full-time staffing. So we went ahead and done it anyways without the funding. So that kind of set us back a little bit. We're catching up from that still currently, but we're making good headway, I'd say. We had to reduce staffing from 4 to 3 on an apparatus in order to make it happen. So we ended up making it work. But
so is there any way to reapproach the taxation again and maybe get it to pass and get it worded correctly, or is it just done?
I'd like to. We put it on the ballot 2 years ago, and it barely failed, but it did fail. And I think the confusion was people thought we were adding a new tax to them.
Right.
Yeah,
education's a key on that one.
Right. And I imagine we'll probably try to do it again, which would help substantially. I mean,
sure.
It really covers like the Morgan Cemetery area. You're not going to see anything at all from like the city limits because they're already maxed out, and
right.
we're not going to touch those areas. We won't be able to. The improvement district areas, we can't touch those areas, so we can't put that on the ballot, and that's what messed us up last time. So I would imagine we'd probably do it again in the future. We just recently tried 2 years ago. It didn't pass. And I understand, too, property tax is a hot topic right now, too. So
sure.
Not a lot of people want to see anything with tax related, and I get it. So it's just not the time right now.
Yeah, it's understandable. So with a lot of the growth, a lot of it's been in the Latino population. So have you guys had any real language barriers as far as in your ability to serve the Latino population? Has it created any problems where, it's hard for you to be able to do your job just due to the fact that there's a language difference there?
I don't think so much that, because we do have translator opportunities through dispatch that can translate for us. The biggest negative impact I see for the Latino community is they wait way too long to call 911.
Do you think they're afraid?
I think they're afraid.
Okay.
And when you call us, there's nothing that's going to happen. So I would like to see in the future that they would call faster when
right.
we can kind of get in there and be of assistance. It's not too late. So they just wait too long sometimes, and I wish they'd call sooner. I think they're afraid of
Well, I wonder if maybe you could come out with some sort of printed material in Spanish that would help those guys to understand that they don't have anything to worry about. They just need to call if there's an emergency.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, maybe we'll look at doing something like that. Okay, so how do ISO ratings come into play, and how do they affect communities? Because I don't think a lot of people understand how ISO ratings come into play and how it affects your insurance prices and things like that.
Yeah, so there's an analytic company that it's out of state, but they basically they're the person who rates the ISO ratings, right? So, and what they do is they hold all the fire department's ISO ratings. Your insurance company pays a subscription fee to them to get a copy of the ISO rating.
Okay.
So it's between 1 and 10. 10's the worst that you could probably have or possibly have, and then 1's the best score you can have. Currently, East Montgomery County Fire Department is a 2 split 4. So if you're in a non-hydrogen area, you're a 4. If you're in a hydrogen area, you're a 2. And basically what happens is your insurance company gets those ratings, and that's how they give you your premium on your insurance premium. If you're a 10, you have a higher premium than you do if you're a 1.
Wow.
So, yeah. So, they come out, they grade us, they look at our operation, how we handle things. There's some suggestions they make that I don't necessarily agree with, but, it's not a big deal. It involves like supply line size and things like that. But, that's just – I'm getting down in the weeds with not agreeing with them on that, but we are a 2-4. So if you live in a hydrogen area and your insurance company subscribes to ISO, you would get a good rating as far as
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
2 sounds pretty good to me.
It's very good. 1's the best you can get.
Right.
And it's there's some departments out there that have a 1, but it takes a lot to get a 1. It's staffing, it's apparatus type, supply hose, water supply ability, and everyone knows living in East Montgomery County, we've got what we have on water supply, so it's kind of hard to get those points. But a 2-4 is a pretty good score for where we live.
Sure. Sure. That means you guys are responding pretty quickly.
Yes, response times, training. Yeah. They look at how many hours each member trains per month.
Yeah,
it's a lot of information they look into.
Great. Well, I know that there's a community here, Rio Vista.
Right.
and I'm not really sure what the specifics are, but somehow they were able to put together this community, and they don't have taxes that go to the fire department. So
Right.
how does that work? And I know that's got to affect you guys negatively, especially being the way that Rio Vista is built. It's a long road going in, and so talk to me about Rio Vista. How did this all come together?
So, from what I understand, just through research trying to figure it out, because it sounds like what happened was they developed an area and subdivided one big lot into multiple lots, and it didn't get put on the tax roll for the ESD.
Okay.
The way it should get put on the tax roll now, because of what happened, is they'd have to petition the ESD to be a part of the ESD. So they would petition the ESD to be put into the district, and then it would go to a ballot, and the rest of the citizens in the community would vote for it, which they're not going to vote no because they're paying taxes and Rio Vista isn't. So,
Right.
and at the end of the day, it's like, where do we have to draw the line and say, hey, we'll keep coming or we won't keep coming? So the biggest benefit we could come up with for the citizens who already pay and still respond and assist the people who live in Rio Vista was to bill per call. So that's what we're currently set up and we're fixing to start doing is we're going to bill each time that someone calls and when we go into the district or into Rio Vista out of our district because they don't belong in our district. It's a hard decision to make, but it's not fair for the rest of our citizens who are paying taxes.
Right. So can that be changed as far as Rio Vista goes?
Yeah, they would have to petition the ESD to join the district.
Okay.
And then once they did that, it would go to ballot and then vote. The rest of the citizens in the community would vote to accept them into the district.
Right. But they're going to actually have to petition to pay more taxes, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, and good luck with that.
Yeah, it's a rough one. I get it. I understand. Yeah. And it's at the end of the day, the ESD receives 10 cents per $100 value. So if you got a $300,000 house, you pay $300 a year in taxes.
Yeah.
Our billing rate is $4.75 per hour. So
yeah. So do the math on that.
Right.
Yeah.
The gamble is, and the roll of dice is well, you need the fire department. So
right.
That's where it comes down to.
Yeah.
And that's up to them. I mean, I don't blame them either way they go with it.
Well, how many homes are back there in Rio Vista?
I'm not really sure off the top of my head.
Really?
Yeah, it's not in my district.
I've driven around back there, and there's got to be 100 plus.
Right.
So I mean,
it's probably quite a few.
It's a good service area.
We just respond in there. We don't prepare for anything because they're not in our district. So we try to focus on the people who we're responsible for.
I got you.
So
okay.
Just out of a courtesy, right now we respond, and we've been doing it. So we're just to a point that it's not fair to everyone else.
There you go. So let me ask you this, and I think you're going to like this question because I'm interested in finding this out too. Are there things that people don't know about the fire service, like just common things that your average person just doesn't know that you can think of?
I would say for our area, they don't realize we're paid. And I think there's a lot of people who still think that they have a volunteer fire department.
Wow.
It's
like that in most rural areas,
right.
though.
When we've been a paid department since 2007, so full time. We've been part time since 2004, so. We've been paid for quite some time now. So you in this district have a full-time paid fire department.
That's good.
And you get about 20 guys when you call 911 for a house on fire. You get about 20 guys on scene. Some other things people may not realize is if you live in a low-income house or you can't afford it, you can call the fire department. We'll come install a smoke detector for you. So, and that's a big program that we like to push. So. If we can install a smoke detector and you get a pre-alert to get out of your house prior to us having to try to drag somebody out, I mean, I consider that a save myself.
Sure.
We need to push that program out there because I don't think a lot of people know about it.
No.
So
yeah.
And that's for any fire department, wherever you live. Just call your local fire department and we will put a smoke detector in your house.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that at all.
No.
So let's talk about fire science a little bit.
All right.
Because, I'm not real good with that either. So I know you guys, and I've seen some of the literature that y'all have. These are some big books.
Mm-hmm.
You would think, fire burns up. It burns. It needs air. It needs, a combustible material. It needs heat.
Right.
And it's fire. But there's a whole lot more to it than that.
Right.
So, and I was thinking prior to doing this podcast, kind of looking around the house, I thought to myself, well, that's plastic. That's a different kind of plastic. That's this. This would put off this kind of smoke. If you get all that crap together, it's got to make a really toxic concoction. So Do you guys just have oxygen? Do y'all have a special gas that you breathe? And I mean, how does all this work, and how do you train? And I guess my biggest question is, you're looking at a house on fire. What are your first thoughts? I mean, how do you go about attacking that fire and in a scientific way, just coming up with a good approach?
Well,
and I'm sure it depends,
right?
You know, what type of house and you know how far engulfed it is and things like that. But
yeah, statistically speaking, for us is the way we look at it. And when you ask about how we look at, you know, just attacking it, statistically speaking, is like 31% of the time victims are in the room adjacent to the seat of the fire. So wherever the fire is, 31% of the time you'll find a victim in the room adjacent to that room. So we look at that. Well, we also break it down to like time of day, because so everything we do on the fire ground supports the primary search. And a lot of people ask all the time is like, why do you send so many apparatus to one fire? Well, it's, you know, we've got to attack the fire. We've got to search for people who may be inside of it. We've got to cut a hole in the roof or vent a window to get the smoke up and off the floor where the victims are going to be. We've got to put a backup line in place to protect those crews inside. So that backup line goes in. If there's a rapid fire development, it saves everybody inside.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to have a RIT team established outside of the structure in case one of our guys get in trouble. And then we need people kind of in staging, because through research they found when one firefighter gets in trouble, it takes 15 to get them out. So that's the reason you see most of the time you see all these trucks going to this one fire, is because of all these assignments that need to happen. But with all the other assignments prior to a firefighter getting in trouble, everything supports that primary search. So when we look at something, we're trying to decide the decision we're going to make, we know 31% of the time they're in the room adjacent to the seat of the fire. If the room's in like the kitchen, living room area, and it's 2 a.m, we want to get to the bedrooms. So we put a line inside to put the fire out, but our other people go to those bedrooms to try to make sure all the people got out of the bedrooms. So a big message we like to push on top of the smoke detector program is when you sleep at night, close your door. Because if you go inside of some of these fires and you see where a door was closed, when you talk about like fire science, it's just like, it's not real scientific, but a solid core door inside of your structure is typically not in place. So even these hollow core doors in place are blocking fire and smoke from getting into the room for, 20, 30 minutes.
Wow.
That gives us plenty of time to get to you. So if you close your door, it gives us the unique ability to come through from the outside through your window. And we never have to put you in any of those contaminants. So you may just be trapped inside your room. You may have went unconscious, but closing your door will prevent or greatly reduce the opportunity of that happening. You'll still be able to be viable when we get you out of your structure.
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's valuable, man.
Yeah.
I mean, how come nobody ever tells anybody that?
Man, there's messages, and it only happens like October of every year during like fire prevention month. So
right.
Close before you doze, and all these messages we like to push. But
yeah.
We've got to push those year round, because fires don't just happen in October. So closing your door before you go to sleep, making sure your children's doors closed, because a lot of times with the kids, the situation with the kids is we find the parents en route down the hallway trying to get to the kid's room. Because if you close all your doors and your house catches on fire in the middle of the night, you can go out of your window and then into their window and get them out without contaminating yourself too, going unconscious.
Right.
There's methods for you to get your children out, but the big thing is shutting that door and understanding, like when you talk about the plastics you're talking about burning, is the hydrogen cyanide gas it's putting off is like, that's killing us long before carbon monoxide like it used to. So you have a greatly reduced amount of time to be exposed to these gases than what you used to be able to. So we carry a drug on all of our apparatus now. It's called a hydrocyanide kit. And basically what it does is when we pull a victim out of a house fire, we push the cyano kit, and it converts the hydrogen cyanide in their bloodstream to vitamin B12. So don't know how they come up with that, but it's absolutely
crazy.
Brilliant, man. It saved a bunch of firemen's life. We push it every time we pull a victim out of a house fire, but the hydrogen cyanide attaches to the hemoglobin, and when it does that, it just prevents you from exchanging oxygen. So we give that cyano kit, converts the hydrogen cyanide to B12, and now it's a vitamin, and you kind of urinate it out.
Wow. So have they determined what makes a cyanide? Is it just a combination of stuff?
Yeah, it's a combination of gases just burning, off-gassing inside. You've got cyanide. You've got carbon monoxide. Those two things together is it's a toxic mixture when you breathe it in. So
one good breath and you're done.
Well, people are dying long before fire ever get to them. So we've got to close those doors when we sleep.
Wow.
That's the way to fix it. and
So
smoke detectors.
House fires at night, and this is something I've always been kind of curious about. Is it usually because somebody left something on in the kitchen? Is it electrical most of the time? Is it dryers? I mean, what?
The biggest
How
fire
do
you'll
fires
see is
usually start at night?
The highest fire rate is caused by cooking. So that's number one.
Okay.
So, well, you have that. Then you have we have a bunch of arson fires. So we do have issues with arson, and then just accidental stuff. I mean,
yeah,
just burning in the yard, it gets away and catches the house on fire. So I'd say number one's kitchen fires. Number two's like the accidental. I would bracket kitchen into accidental, but when I talk about accidental, I mean like you separate kitchen from accidental as like you were burning in your yard and it caught your house on fire. I think those are kind of high on the listing. Accidental also bracketed in with like just electric fire. Like it happened, the wires grounded out, caught your house on fire. But we've seen some crazy stuff, man. Like you look at breaker boxes in some people's houses and they got it wired over to where it won't trip.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah,
It's wanting to trip, but you got it shut to where it won't. It just stays active. So those things will cause big issues. I mean, just I guess ignorance,
sure.
ignorance and a lot of problems. But yeah, I would say kitchen number one, and then accidental.
Yeah, and I would imagine y'all do basically more car wrecks and automobile accidents than you do fire, right?
We do more medical than anything.
Really?
Yeah, EMS calls it's a large amount of what we do. We run probably, I would say, on average about 9 house fires a month.
Okay.
So
that's a lot.
That's a lot of fires.
Yeah, that is a lot of fires.
Yeah, I mean, and wrecks would fall in there too. You get quite a few wrecks. The weather changes so much around here. We don't know how to drive when it freezes. So
right.
well, you got a road ice.
When it rains,
yeah.
or when it's sunny.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I got you.
So yeah,
okay.
We run more EMS than anything. So.
Well, I know also that you do travel the country and you teach other firefighters.
Yes, sir.
Basically how to fight fires, how to stay alive, and how to help other people.
Right.
So that's an amazing deal.
Yes.
How'd you get involved in that? I mean, that's
I have
great.
a real good friend in Florida. His name's Kurt Isaacson, and he's been doing it for a long time. And I've been watching him from a distance for a while and going to classes, and his classes help develop a lot of what we do in our organization. And I just wanted to give back, really. I mean, he created a situation where our department became like rapid pace progressive on changing and keeping up with the changing methods and tactics of the fire service. So
right.
Just wanted to give back to what I received, really. So I started doing it. And, man, I did 4,800 students last year. And
really?
Yeah, very rewarding.
Wow.
So it's an awesome deal. Kind of get to see the world. So the only thing that's bad about it is I work Monday through Friday. So I leave on a red-eye Friday night, teach Saturday, fly home Sunday, and back to work Monday. So
that's cool.
Kind of rough, but yeah, it's been real good. I also get to, through my teaching, learn. So I go to other fire departments and see how they do it, which may work better for our organization. So we can change things through that as well. So yeah, it's been a great experience. So
yeah, sounds like it has.
Yeah,
that's good. Well, I just want to say, we appreciate having you guys around, and I've been to the fire department quite a few times, and I'm always impressed when I go there. You guys have just top-of-the-line facility. I'm really impressed with the whole thing you got in the back with all the training, and there's a lot going on. So I'd recommend anybody stop by and check it out if they want to. That'd be a learning experience. So in closing, is there anything you'd want to say, like if you were going to tell somebody the most critical information other than close your door when you're going to sleep? Anything else about preventing fires? Or
yeah, I think that's it, man. I'll just go back to that. Closing your door before you go to sleep. Make sure you have a smoke detector, and call the fire department if you can't get a smoke detector. Those are the most valuable things.
Yeah, and at least test it every once in a while. Make sure it's still good.
That's right. Yeah. Hey, you got to test your smoke detector every time you change your clock.
There you go. Okay. I think they're going to stop doing that, though. I think we're either going to stay on daylight savings or regular. I don't remember which one, but I know they're talking about it.
Yeah, we'll have to come up with some other time to change.
Have to set an alarm or something. Well, Chief, it was great having you on. And, I learned a lot because I did not know about closing the door at night. It's something that we've always done, but I didn't know that there was kind of a reason behind it.
Well, if they only take that from this podcast, I'd be happy with that, because that gets us in a position where we can come for you.
There you go. Sounds good. And again, the fire department's located, the main office is on 1485 West, correct?
19870 FM 1485 West.
There you go.
That's where the main office is.
There you go. And don't call these guys for cats and trees, because you never see any skeletons of cats up in trees. So, again, Chief, thanks, man. It was good having you on. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to come see me, and look forward to doing it again.
Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We're out.